Welcome back, my wonderful fellow freedom fighters and lovers of freedom across the globe. You guys are amazing. Welcome back to the month of December. May the Lord who have guided us from 1st of January till this moment lead us to the end. Amen. My returning subscribers and those who are watching from a distance, I can only ask you to go ahead and smack the red button and click the notification bell so whenever we upload, you'll be able to get notified. On this very particular video, you are going to see the danger and the damages of neo-colonialism among African leaders, the way we have destroyed ourselves because we refuse to trust ourselves. We refuse to develop ourselves. We refuse to work on ourselves. My wonderful people of God. The world leaders have ganged up against Africa because of their developed evil called COVID-19 and his sisters and brothers to cripple the economy of the world and to control the world. And the Africa is their guinea pig and is working out as planned. But remember, an African man for the first time in the history of WHO is the director of it when all this evil are being unleashed, knowing fully well that Africa is not in the economic stability to handle it, but it's coming one after the other. What is their plan? They have no plan. What is their status? They have no status. That is what happens when you join your enemies to kill your best. You end up losing the entire thing. Nnamdi Kanu be free
What's
to
trending?
Biafra for you.
Travel restrictions imposed on Southern African countries and the African continent by world leaders in a bid to curb the spread of the new COVID-19 variant, Omicron, which has been designated by the World Health Organization as a variant of concern because of its concerning number of mutations, has garnered mixed reactions. Well, over the weekend, Kingibe Babagana, president of the African Development Bank, in a series of tweets, advised world leaders not to label or penalize African nations because of the new variant. Babagana, who is one of the strong advocates of equity in vaccine distribution, said that Africa is not the source of the COVID-19 pandemic and appealed for global justice, equity, and fairness in vaccine distribution. Well, in the meantime, a video of Dr. Ayode Alakija, the co-chair of the African Union's COVID-19 Africa Vaccine Delivery Alliance, discrediting the travel ban, has gone viral. In the video clip, courtesy the BBC, the doctor said that the Omicron variant was inevitable because the world has failed to vaccinate countries equitably. Well, let's take a look.
And may I say firstly that had the first SARS-CoV virus, the one that was first identified in China last year, originated in Africa, it is now clear that the world would have locked us away and thrown away the key. There would have been no urgency to develop vaccines because it would have been expendable. Africa would have become known as the continent of COVID. What is going on right now is inevitable. It's as a result of the world's failure to vaccinate in an equitable, urgent, and speedy manner. It is as a result of hoarding by high-income countries of the world. And quite frankly, it is unacceptable. These travel bans are based in politics and not in science. It is wrong. Why are we locking away Africa when this virus is already on 3 continents? Nobody's locking away Belgium. Nobody's locking away Israel. Why are we locking away Africa? It is wrong. And it is also time that our African leaders stand up and they find their voice. African leadership need to sit up in this moment. Our presidents need to wake up in this moment and realize that this is not business as usual. Their continent is at stake. Our lives are at stake. And we cannot allow the world to do this to us.
Well, this video has gone viral. I'd like to take a tweet from Kingibe Babagana before I come to you guys for our analysis. He wrote in those tweets, Africa must accelerate the manufacturing of its own vaccines and set up its own healthcare security defense system. Africa must no longer outsource health security of its 1.8 billion people to the benevolence of others. He tweeted to WHO head and all of the people concerned. But, you know, Tundu, you were telling me that the doctor was absolutely right with her comments, but she did get some backlash as well, you know, because of the fact that we need to manufacture our own vaccines and not depend on other nations. But for me, I don't see why both positions cannot be correct. We had a respected virologist earlier as our guest on the show, Professor Tomori, venerated, not even respected, but I respectfully disagree with him. He was on that side, stressing the fact that we are the ones who have dropped the ball. We have been remiss in the way we have let that side of medical research go fallow. Obviously, that is true. But while you're having your self-flagellation, your woulda, shoulda, coulda, which is a total waste of time right now, you can also address the fact, and it is a fact, of vaccine inequity in the world. You can walk and chew gum at the same time. I know you know this very well, Rufai. I really resent the fact that the veterinary vaccinations are still being produced in VOM, but human vaccinations are not. What kind of country is this? So that is true. But on the other hand, the points that she was making are also true. The case in Belgium had no contact with anybody from Africa, any traveler from Africa. The flights out of Belgium have not been stopped. Why so quick to, lock the door on Africa? It is constant. You'll recall with Ebola as well. It was like, stop all the flights from Africa. There's always this unseemly rush to tar us as this hotbed of disease, of poverty, of squalor, and it must be addressed. The idea that prejudice plays no part in this, I'm sorry, is a fallacy. And I did say right at the beginning when we're talking about our news headlines, I could not remember the expert that we had. It wasn't Professor Tomori, I definitely remember him. We had an expert on this show who completely dismissed the idea of prejudice. And I did say, when you're an expert, when you're a scientist in that rarefied field, you would, because you're trained in that way. You look at data, you don't stoop to looking at prejudice and what have you. But that is a very small percentage of the world's population. A lot of people are prejudiced, and I think this reeks of prejudice. So both can be correct.
I agree with you, both can be correct. But what would you advise to be done? I mean, that's exactly what countries
Vaccine
should do.
equity immediately.
I'm talking about the travel ban.
With regards to the travel ban, vaccine equity now, immediately, to get everybody vaccinated. And obviously, hopefully, unless we're completely, without hope at all, learn the lessons from this disaster. Like I did say, why do we have livestock being vaccinated with Nigerian produced vaccines and we cannot get it? It's actually nothing short of shameful. So you can walk and chew gum at the same time.
Right.
I mean, Tundu, I know you are very refined in your word, but I will be very dirty this morning. I'll use the racist word. It's racism. Let's call it what it is. I know you don't want to hit it on the head. I'll do it. It's racism. Let's call them out for what they are. Because to start with, this is not even from Africa. Some foreigners, ambassadors brought it into Botswana. I don't know why the Botswanan government is covering them up. Name and shame these countries that brought it in. Secondly, I'd like to make the point again. This is racism, and I'll tell you why. Recently, there was a study conducted in the UK that shows that, yes, you can actually be skin biased when it comes to science and medical equipment. You remember the oximeters, the oxygen meters that was shown to read higher for black people than for white people? Sajid Javid, Secretary of Health, is looking into that in the UK. You remember the Tuskegee trials?
Oh, gosh.
Why was it only black people, the Tuskegee syphilis trials? So it is racism at its finest, and these people don't care. I mean, they colonized us in Belgium, Congo. They said we were animals. Leopold killed millions of people. They've not accounted for those crimes. So vaccine inequity is small for them. And that's why when they tell me I don't want to use obscene words this morning, the annoying part about, yes, it's cost and scale. Botswana can pay $29 because some people paid before Botswana.
Imagine.
But why should they pay that? And we're talking about vaccine equity around the world. And the West should come clean on this. I was shocked. If the tweet is true, like Piers Morgan tweeted this morning, that don't call it a South African variant. Don't call it that. And we can't continue to live in a world where there's a lot of racism. But on the flip side of it, who do we blame? We blame our own leaders that make their own selfish and personal interest more than the collective lot of our people. That's why I blame. You heard what Professor Tomori said this morning, that they have submitted a vaccine candidate. They had done the research work and all the proposals just for clinical trials. And they pushed that proposal to the Minister of Health for whatever it's worth, and nothing has been done. If we are in a sane country, if Nigeria is a sane country, the Minister of Health should be answering questions on why a vaccine candidate proposal for clinical trials is just sitting and gathering dust.
Well said, Rufai. I mean, the fact that we are not even dying in droves should be a testament. We should use that to our advantage.
Oh, I'm sorry, OJ. You asked me about travel bans.
Yes.
I didn't answer that.
Yes.
Travel bans have been proved to not be as effective as the non-pharmaceutical preventions. Travel bans can make people complacent. You might think, okay, it's all out. Like Belgium now, that case is showing community spread. Nobody was in contact with that person from Africa. So travel bans are really not the solution.
Yeah.
I just wanted to answer that.
Well, if there's anything that has been proven with COVID-19 since 20 months ago, it's about how the politics of COVID-19 is in itself a reflection of geopolitics, the inequities in the world, and the conflict of nationalisms and sovereignties that we have seen. And so at every point, you find that nations, in trying to preserve the integrity of their own space, play politics, even with COVID-19, in the same manner in which they play politics with everything, whether it's fishing relationship in the English Channel between France and England, or some other issue in any part of the globe. And we saw the sign of this very early when President Trump almost unilaterally divided to refer to the COVID-19 when it became known as the China virus. And you know that it was on the basis of that profiling, characterization, labeling, that the World Health Organization, the WHO, stepped in and then introduced the Greek alphabet to ensure that this, virus of international concern, this major international, issue does not get thrown into the politics of, my Mercedes is bigger than yours, my country is better than yours, and vaccine nationalism. And I think that even in the case of the Omicron, that at the end of the day, that standard has been maintained by the WHO. The WHO itself has come forward to condemn any kind of labeling. And I think that the WHO acted swiftly in, attaching a Greek alphabet to it. However, before the WHO did so, South African countries, about 6 of them, 7 plus Mozambique, were already being slammed with travel restrictions. But of course, the South Africans spoke up on Saturday, Sunday. First, Naledi Pandor, the Minister of International Affairs and Cooperation, and also the President of South Africa, saying that, look, the people who are banning travels from Southern Africa, they are not following the science. What is more important is to follow the science rather than follow emotions. And I think within 72 hours later, we have seen that this particular variant is not restricted to a part of the world. It's been reported in parts of Europe. It's been reported in parts of Asia. And I think that, the labeling cannot stick. It will not work. It's the travel and tourism industry internationally that is affected, because South Africa had to cry out because it was affected. And it's just as well that the United States has specifically singled out the South African scientists for commendation, for moving fast in doing the genome sequencing, and also for the South African government for being transparent. And another support that has been received in the spirit of African brotherhood is from the Nigerian side. The second point, beyond all of that, that has been raised by Dr. Adesina, the president of South Africa, and also by Dr. Ayoade Alakija, is the need for global solidarity, for vaccine equity, which is the big issue that we've been dealing with. The need to do intellectual property transfers, the need to relax some of those trade restrictions under WTO rules, so that countries that have capacity can also get into this manufacturing space. And I wasn't surprised about Dr. Adesina. He has been very strong. He's a very strong advocate of a vaccine equity. And I think we should just continue to stress the point made by Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala upon our assumption of office as Director General of the WTO, that nobody is safe until everyone is safe. My only worry is that in the UK now, they are giving more booster jabs to even persons above 18, when in many parts of the world, particularly in Africa, people don't even know.
Thank you, my amazing people. If the video interests you, go ahead, like, share,